Okay, so you guys wanted to know more about feeling unmotivated and kind of burnt out, right? Like just not productive.
Yeah, it's a common thing.
Super common.
Yeah.
And, I think it's totally normal to feel that way sometimes. We're not machines, right?
Not at all. And actually, it's kind of fascinating how often we try to fight those feelings.
Yeah, like powering through.
Exactly. But it's like ignoring a warning light, you know? If your body and mind are saying slow down, you got to listen.
Totally. And, I think it's important to differentiate. There's burnout, which is like that deep exhaustion,
Mm.
like you've been running a marathon forever. And then there's just feeling unmotivated.
Oh, for sure. There's definitely a difference. And sometimes, honestly, it might not be as serious as we think.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes it's just like little things adding up. Small stressors, daily frustrations, those can drain your energy too.
Interesting. So, like, what's the first step then? If you're feeling that blah, where do you even begin?
Well, I think the first step is acceptance, like acknowledging those feelings and being kind to yourself.
Oh, so self-compassion is key.
Huge. Instead of beating yourself up for feeling unmotivated, try saying something like, "It's okay to feel this way right now. Rest is allowed."
Makes sense. But after the self-compassion, how do you actually get out of that slump?
Think small. I call it the ripple effect. Tiny actions can really make a difference.
What kind of tiny actions?
It could be something as simple as making your bed or just
Mhm.
drinking a glass of water.
Huh. I wouldn't have thought those would make a difference.
Oh, they do. Even just stepping outside for a few minutes, getting some fresh air, these small wins tell your brain, hey, progress is happening.
I like that. But what if even those tiny things feel overwhelming?
That's when you got to check in with your body. Are you thirsty? Hungry? Have you been sitting all day?
So you're saying how we feel physically affects us mentally.
Absolutely. And it's not about pushing yourself to extremes, just gentle shifts. A short walk, some stretches, even just focusing on your breath for a few minutes.
Deep breathing, that kind of thing.
Exactly. When you're stressed, you tend to take shallow breaths. Slowing down your breath can actually calm your nervous system.
Okay, so we've talked about accepting your feelings, starting small, paying attention to your body. What else can we do to boost our energy and motivation?
Sometimes a change of scenery can help. If you're feeling stuck, try rearranging your workspace, working near a window, or even lighting a candle. Just changing your surroundings can shift your mood.
I love that. It's like hitting the reset button.
Mm.
But what about those negative thoughts? They always seem to creep in when you're feeling unmotivated.
Reframing those thoughts is so important. Instead of, I have to do this, try, I get to do this.
I like that shift in perspective.
And remember, rest is productive. Taking breaks is essential.
So true. But sometimes it feels like there's something bigger going on. Like the lack of motivation is just a symptom of something deeper.
Right. You have to listen to what those feelings are trying to tell you. Are you craving rest, inspiration, connection? Each has different solutions.
So let's break that down. What does it mean to truly give yourself permission to rest? Because I think a lot of people struggle with that.
It means letting go of the guilt and pressure to be productive. Do things that truly feel restorative.
Right.
Reading a book, taking a bath, maybe even just doing nothing for a while. Whatever helps you recharge.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And what about finding inspiration? How do you reignite that spark when it feels gone?
That's when you need to reconnect with your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? What brings you joy? Sometimes revisiting those core motivations can rekindle your passion.
So it's about remembering what makes you tick, what makes you excited to get up in the morning.
Exactly. And if you're feeling disconnected and lonely, reach out to someone, even just for a quick chat. Human connection is powerful.
It's a good reminder that we're not alone in this.
We're definitely not. Now, I know we've talked about a lot, but there are two more tools I want to mention. Gratitude and mindfulness.
Oh yeah, I've heard those can be powerful.
They are. Both are about being present in the moment, which can be so calming and helpful when you're feeling overwhelmed.
So how do you practice gratitude?
It's easy. Think of 3 things you're grateful for right now, no matter how small. Maybe it's the sunshine, a good cup of coffee, or a funny text from a friend.
So it's about focusing on the positive, even when things feel tough.
Yes. And mindfulness is about paying attention to your senses, your breath, your thoughts, without judgment. Even 5 minutes of mindful breathing can calm your mind and create clarity.
So it's about being present in your body and your surroundings without getting caught up in all the noise.
You got it. And a lot of people feel like they need to have everything figured out right now.
Oh, that pressure to be perfect can be paralyzing.
For sure. But remember, life isn't about perfection. It's about showing up and doing your best, even in small ways. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small.
So it's about embracing the journey, not
Like,
just focusing on the destination.
exactly. And it's about being kind to yourself along the way. There will be ups and downs, but what matters is that you keep going.
This has been so insightful, but I feel like there's even more to unpack here.
Oh, definitely. We've just scratched the surface.
So let's take a moment to gather our thoughts, and we'll be right back to delve even deeper into beating burnout and reclaiming your energy.
Okay, so before the break, we were talking about listening to your needs, and it made me think, what if those feelings of burnout or like lack of motivation are actually a sign of something bigger?
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in just fixing the symptoms, the fatigue, the lack of focus, without really addressing the root cause.
So instead of reaching for another cup of coffee, we should be asking ourselves some deeper questions.
Exactly. Questions like, am I really happy in my work? Or do my relationships feel fulfilling? Even, am I living in a way that aligns with my values?
Yeah, those are big
They
questions.
are. But sometimes burnout can be a catalyst for real self-discovery and growth. Interesting. So it's like our inner selves are trying to tell us something's not quite right.
Exactly. It's like a wake-up call.
So if someone's realizing their burnout might be coming from something deeper, where do they even begin?
Start by paying attention to your energy levels throughout the day. What leaves you feeling drained? What energizes you? Those patterns can be really telling.
So it's like figuring out what your internal compass is pointing towards.
Yeah, and if it's pointing towards a need for change, then you need to find the courage to actually make those changes.
That's easier said than done, though, right?
It can be. That's where connecting to your why becomes so crucial. When you know what truly matters to you, it's easier to make decisions that align with your values.
You mentioned finding your why before. Can you talk a bit more about what that means and how to actually find it?
Sure, it's a process of self-exploration, and it's different for everyone. Some helpful questions to ask yourself are, what are you naturally drawn to? What makes you lose track of time? What kind of impact do you want to make on the world?
It's like piecing together a puzzle, but of your own soul.
I like that. And remember, it's okay if the pieces don't all fit together right away. There's no rush. Self-discovery is an ongoing journey.
And your why doesn't have to be some grand, life-altering mission either, right?
Not at all. It can be something simple, something that brings you joy and fulfillment in your everyday life. Maybe it's being a present parent, creating art, or making a difference in your community.
It's about finding what lights you up, what feels true to you.
Absolutely. And once you connect with your why, you can start making choices that are more aligned with it. Say yes to things that energize you and no to things that drain you.
It's about creating a life that feels authentic, not just going through the motions.
Exactly. A life that reflects your values and allows you to be your best self.
Wow, we've covered so much. Self-compassion, taking small steps, the mind-body connection, reframing our thoughts, listening to our deeper needs, finding our why.
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to learn about human motivation and well-being.
It's fascinating. Like a constant journey of self-discovery.
It is, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution. What works for one person might not work for another.
It's about finding what resonates with you, what fits your needs and circumstances.
Exactly. And be patient with yourself. There will be days you feel energized and productive, and days you need to rest and recharge.
It's all about embracing the ebb and flow of life.
And celebrating those small victories along the way. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a win.
So as we're wrapping up this part of our deep dive, what's one key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
I think it's crucial to remember that you have the power to choose how you respond to those feelings of burnout and lack of motivation.
So what does that look like?
It means recognizing that those feelings are temporary, they don't define you. You can focus on what you can control, like your mindset, your self-care, your
I'm
actions.
believing in your own resilience.
Exactly. You are more capable than you think, and you have everything you need within you to move through this.
That's such a powerful message of hope. It's a reminder that we're not alone, and we have the strength to overcome these challenges.
And remember, seeking support when you need it is a sign of strength, not weakness. A friend, a therapist, even just listening to a podcast like this one can make a difference.
It's true. Just knowing others have gone through similar things can be so helpful.
Absolutely. And speaking of resources and strategies, we have some more practical tips to share in the final part of our deep dive.
Yes. So let's take a quick pause, and then we'll be back with the final part of our deep dive into beating burnout and reclaiming your energy. Okay, so we've explored the reasons behind burnout and feeling unmotivated. Now let's get into the how. How do we actually get our energy and motivation back?
Sometimes the simplest strategies are the most effective. You don't always need to completely change your life.
So, like, what kind of simple strategies are we talking about? Give us the good stuff.
Well, let's start with boundaries, setting clear boundaries around your time and energy.
Okay, boundaries. But
Yeah.
those can be kind of tricky, right? How do you set them without being, like, rude or dismissive?
It starts with figuring out what's absolutely non-negotiable for you. What do you absolutely need to feel good?
So, like, enough sleep, exercise, time with family, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Those are great examples. Once you know your non-negotiables, you can build your boundaries around them.
And that means communicating those boundaries to other people,
Yeah.
right? Letting them know what you need and when. But what if they don't get it? Like, what if they push back?
Yeah, not everyone will understand right away. But remember, it's okay to protect your time and energy. It's not selfish, it's self-care.
So, boundaries are about saying yes to yourself, which might sometimes mean saying no to others.
Exactly. And speaking of self-care, it's more than just bubble baths and face masks. It's about consciously choosing to do things that nourish you.
Okay, so what does real self-care look like? Give us some ideas we can actually use.
Think about the basics. Are you eating well, getting enough sleep, moving your body?
Yeah, those are important.
And don't forget to take breaks when you need them. Step away from screens, spend time in nature. It's about creating a daily routine that supports your well-being.
So it's about treating yourself with the same kindness you'd show to a loved one.
Absolutely. And remember, self-care is personal. What works for one person might not work for another. It's about finding what truly nourishes you.
Now, what about when you're feeling really stuck? Like you just can't seem to find that motivation spark. What then?
One thing that helps is breaking down big tasks into smaller chunks. Don't focus on the whole mountain, just take the first step, then the next, and the next.
So it's about making it manageable, focusing on those smaller wins.
Yes, and sometimes it helps to have some accountability. Share your goals with a friend, join a group, find a mentor.
Having someone to cheer you on can make a big difference.
It really can. And finally, don't forget that seeking professional help is always an option. If you're really struggling, a therapist can provide the tools and support you need.
It's okay to ask for help. In fact, it's a sign of strength.
It really is.
Wow, this deep dive has been packed with information. We talked about the reasons behind burnout, the importance of self-care and boundaries, and so many practical strategies for getting our energy back.
Yeah, it's been a great conversation. Hopefully, our listeners are feeling empowered to make some positive changes.
As we wrap up this episode, any final thoughts?
Just remember, you are capable of amazing things. You have everything you need to create a life that feels good and supports your well-being.
That's a great reminder. And on that note, we want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We're all in this together. Remember to be kind to yourselves and keep exploring.